Welcome to our podcast, where we explore the complex world of modern parenting and the pressures children face today. Today, we are discussing why pushing your child too hard can lead to significant setbacks in their emotional development. Many parents in cities like New York and Los Angeles feel a desperate need to ensure their children succeed. But what happens when that drive for excellence turns into a burden that a young child cannot carry? We will look at real stories from across the United States to understand the long-term impact of overparenting. Let us start by examining the high-stakes environment of competitive youth sports in a city like Chicago, Illinois. Many young athletes are practicing for several hours every single day without any time for rest or play. This intensity often leads to physical injuries that could have been avoided with a much more balanced training schedule. More importantly, it leads to mental exhaustion and a complete loss of interest in the sport they once loved. A child who is forced to play basketball every weekend might grow up to resent the game very deeply. They may eventually quit the sport entirely as soon as they have the freedom to make their own choices. This is a classic example of how overpushing can backfire and destroy a child's natural passion for an activity. Now let us shift our focus to the academic world in the busy streets of Manhattan, New York. Here, parents often compete to get their children into the most prestigious preschools and private elementary schools available now. The pressure to perform starts at a very young age and continues throughout their entire primary and secondary education. Children are enrolled in multiple tutoring sessions and extracurricular activities that leave them with no time for themselves. This constant demand for perfection can lead to high levels of anxiety and a fear of making any mistakes. When a child believes that their worth is based only on their grades, they become very fragile and insecure. They may start to hide their failures or lie about their progress to avoid disappointing their very demanding parents. This lack of honesty erodes the trust between the parent and the child, which is essential for healthy growth. In the long run, these children may suffer from burnout before they even reach their first year of college. We see this happening in universities across the country, where students struggle to cope with the sudden lack of. Without a parent constantly hovering over them, they may feel completely lost and unable to manage their own schedules. This is because they never learned how to develop their own internal motivation and self-discipline during their childhood. So why do parents feel the need to push their children so hard in the first place today? Often it comes from a place of love and a desire to see their children have a better life. They want to give them every possible advantage in a world that feels increasingly competitive and very uncertain lately. However, there is a thin line between encouraging a child and overwhelming them with too many expectations and demands. When parents cross that line, they risk damaging the very future they are trying so hard to build for. It is ironic that the more we push, the further away our children might actually move from success. Let us talk about a girl named Sarah, who grew up in a wealthy neighborhood in Los Angeles, California. Her parents wanted her to be a star performer and signed her up for every acting class in town. Sarah was talented, but she felt like a puppet being controlled by her parents' dreams instead of her own. She began to act out and rebel in school as a way to reclaim some power over her life. Her grades dropped, and she started hanging out with a crowd that did not value education or hard work. By trying to force her into greatness, her parents pushed her right into a cycle of rebellion and self. This story is common in many American households, where the pressure to shine becomes a dark cloud of despair. We must remember that children need space to explore their own interests and discover who they really are inside. When we fill their schedules with our own goals, we rob them of the chance to find their own. A child who chooses their own path is much more likely to be successful and happy in life. They will have the passion and the drive to overcome obstacles because they are working for themselves, not us. In the city of Chicago, research has shown that kids with autonomy are more resilient than those who are. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from failure, and it is a key predictor of long-term success. If a child never fails because their parents are always fixing things, they will never learn how to recover. They will enter the adult world without the necessary tools to handle the challenges that life will surely throw. It is hard for parents to watch their children struggle, but it is a necessary part of growing. We need to be the safety net that catches them, not the engine that drives them into the ground. Let us consider the psychological impact of chronic stress on a developing brain in a young child or teen. High levels of cortisol can actually change the structure of the brain and affect learning and memory functions negatively. By overpushing, we might be physically hindering our children's ability to learn the very things we want them to. This is a sobering thought for any parent who thinks they are doing what is best for kids. We need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture of our children's overall well-being. Is a trophy or a high test score worth the price of a child's mental health and happiness today? In many cases, the answer is a resounding no. Yet the cycle of high-pressure parenting continues to persist. We see it in the competitive suburbs of Houston and the tech-driven culture of the Silicon Valley area. Parents are constantly comparing their children to others and feeling like they are falling behind in the race of. This comparison is the thief of joy, and it creates an environment of constant stress for the entire family. Did you know that children as young as 7 are reporting symptoms of clinical depression related to school? This is a heartbreaking statistic that should serve as a wake-up call for all of us as parents. We need to redefine what success looks like and move away from a narrow focus on external achievements only. Success should be measured by a child's character, their kindness, and their ability to solve problems in the world. Imagine a world where we celebrated a child's curiosity more than we celebrated their latest high test scores. If we encourage them to ask questions and explore the world, they will develop a lifelong love of learning. This love of learning is what will truly sustain them through the ups and downs of their future careers. Let us go back to our examples in New York and see how things could have been handled differently. Instead of filling Sarah's schedule with classes, her parents could have asked her what she was interested in doing. They could have given her the time to explore different hobbies without the pressure of having to be perfect. Sarah might have discovered a love for science or art or something her parents never even considered before. By giving her autonomy, they would have built a stronger bond based on mutual respect and understanding between them. This bond is what helps a child feel safe enough to take risks and learn from their own mistakes. In Los Angeles, parents are starting to realize the importance of downtime and unstructured play for their growing children. Play is not a waste of time. It is how children learn to navigate social relationships and solve problems. When we overschedule our kids, we take away the most important part of their childhood development and their growth. How can we, as a society, shift our culture away from this toxic level of high achievement pressure? It starts with individual parents making the choice to prioritize their child's happiness over their own personal vanity goals. We need to stop talking about which colleges our kids are going to and start talking about their passions. We need to support teachers in Chicago and New York who are trying to reduce the amount of homework. Less homework means more time for families to eat dinner together and talk about their day in a relaxed. These small changes can have a massive impact on the mental health and well-being of our next generation. If we do not change, we risk raising a generation of adults who are successful but deeply unhappy. They will have the house and the car, but they will lack the emotional depth to enjoy their lives. They may struggle with relationships because they never learned how to be vulnerable or how to truly connect with. Overpushing is a short-term strategy that leads to long-term failure in the most important areas of life. But there is hope, because more and more parents are starting to see the value of a balanced. They are choosing to let their kids be kids and trusting that they will find their own way eventually. This trust is a powerful gift that will give a child the confidence to pursue their own unique dreams. Let us wrap up today by reflecting on our own parenting styles and the messages we send our children. Are we pushing them because they want it, or are we pushing them because we want it for them? The answer to that question could change the course of your child's life and your relationship with them. Thank you for joining us for this important conversation about the dangers of overpushing our children in America. Remember that a happy child is a successful child, no matter what their grades or trophies might actually say. We hope you take these stories to heart and find a way to bring more balance to your family. Until next time, keep supporting your children and let them lead the way to their own bright future today. Goodbye from the studio, and we wish you and your family all the best on this parenting journey ahead.